it does really seem that all these things that she's doing with her Instagram page, as ever, her cookery show, as I like to call it, and potentially adding, hotels and restaurants. What's Harry doing?
Well, exactly. I don't know. He's probably just still feeding the chickens. I don't know what he does every day. I mean, he probably takes the kids to the park and stuff like that. But he doesn't seem to be having a real role now. And he sort of, and I keep thinking back to that video he made after when he lost the court case, and he looked so sad in that, so really down and not upbeat like he was normally. And I feel somehow he's having probably second thoughts. Maybe this is not such a great...
I mean, with the BBC interview, because I thought the same. I wondered, that was only a month ago, it's been years, and as you say, for better or worse, Meghan's forging ahead with her path, but seeing Harry look exactly as you say, looking so defeated.
Was reconcile with his father.
Yes, and it's so reflective, and it's still that looking back. And I think it appeared, and look, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but from that interview and the things he was saying, it just appears he seems quite stuck.
I just think that was.
And as you said, if he wants to reconcile his father, that video was exactly the thing not to do, because now, as far as the palace are concerned, they can't share anything private with him because they're worried it will just end up in the public realm.
Well, the thing is, Chris, if he'd have said that on that show, I said this on a recent night, if he'd have only said sorry on that. Sorry, Pop, I do want to, see you. I mean, I think that might have had a difference, but...
Do you know what? I remember doing an interview with Harry in, where were we? It was in Africa, towards the end of their Africa tour. We were in Malawi, actually, and he'd done a couple of media interviews through the course of that Africa tour. But as we know, at the end of it, we had the Tom Bradley interview with Meghan where it all kind of fell apart. But just before that happened, I did an interview with Harry in Malawi just about sort of conservation and environmental issues, and he was really, really sort of pent up. He was really very sort of stressed, and he just would talk. You would ask him one question, a bit like with the BBC interview. You'd ask him one question and he'd talk for like sort of 5 or 6 minutes. And I recognised that Harry in that BBC video, someone who was really kind of ill at ease with everything. And I just think that BBC interview, if reconciliation with his family is something that he wants to do, it was completely the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, it was. But, in many ways, it was coming from his heart, I thought, really...
Why do you think he's like that, though?
Well, his father's not well, is he? He's obviously concerned, I mean, he's his father, for God's sake, I think
and also the reason why you employ people like a head of communications or a sort of publicity advisor is to tell you, OK, when you do this interview, don't say this, this, this and this. And the trouble with royals, and this is Harry's not really alone here, you could probably say the same for the King and Prince William. If they don't want to take advice, they just don't take it, and they do what they want to do.
That's right,
and Harry perhaps should have had a bit of a conversation with his communications chief before he sat down.
I did feel that was a change in his attitude. I thought that was pretty much. I mean, I haven't seen anything in 5 years, and then suddenly he comes out with that, and I thought he looked so sad, so sad. Maybe because he'd just lost £1.5 million. Maybe that's what made him sad. But
that BBC interview was one of their biggest mistakes I think they've done since Meghan. To be quite frank, it came from a place of anger. And we talk about his team. I'm always fascinated by who's working around him, and I think they maybe gave him
how long they're there for.
Yeah, but I think they maybe gave him what he wanted, not what he needed with that interview. And he needed to sit down, relax, and see how it all washed out. It was a major,
it was all done in a big rush. We know that the BBC had to fly someone in from New York in order to do it. And the whole thing was such a rush. If they'd just taken a bit of a breath and maybe even did it 3 hours later, it would have been a lot better.
And so it was such an emotional issue for him to lose that court case. Of course, he's going to be at one of his lowest points, the worst possible time to be getting up on the world stage. You're exactly right.
People need to look after him a minute. He shouldn't have done that interview. It was damaging to everything. Right, we've just got time for our quickfire questions. Okay?
Okay.
So take a deep breath. I'll start this way. Chris, I'm coming to you first. Which royal home would make the best hotel?
I really like Dumfries House, actually, because not only because it's a real passion project for the King, it is a beautiful building. The grounds are amazing. You've got some amazing rare chickens in the garden where you could make some great eggs for breakfast. So I think that would be a great hotel. Perhaps not a with Meghan hotel if she's looking for some accommodation in the UK, but I like Dumfries House a lot.
Similar sort of reasons without the chickens, I think, but Balmoral, I was there last year, and it is the most beautiful property in the landscape there is incredible. You could imagine it being an amazing boutique hotel. I'd like to wake up
My
there.
favourite fact about Balmoral was that when Victoria and Albert bought it, they demolished the old building, which used to sit in front on that piece of lawn in front of the castle, and built something new. They didn't like the building that was there.
There you go.
They've recently spruced it up, actually. They've recently given it a whole big renovation and a clean, maybe in time for the Trump visit later this year, but they've just literally taken the scaffolding down recently.
Maybe they're turning it into a
Because
hotel.
actually we think that Trump might sort of pop into Balmoral when he's seeing one of his golf courses.
Yeah. I've stayed at Dumfries House. I've overnighted there. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Yeah, it is pretty nice. Yeah, but I think Sandringham, because it's got the rooms. I mean, Balmoral, you know, it's not got as many bedrooms, but Sandringham, you'd always get a room there. I think. Yeah.
So it's more exclusive at Balmoral. We're doing more of a big chain hotel with all the rooms anyway.
But it's a long way to go.
Well, it's, not as far as the Castle of May, perhaps.
Oh no, the Castle of May.
Maybe
no,
that's a bit too far away.
They've got loads of opportunities thinking about it.
There are a few.
Highgrove, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So the King will give David Beckham a knighthood. So which gongless public figure deserves a knighthood or a damehood?
I was looking up who has one and who doesn't have one. Incredibly, a lot of people do have them in sort of the arts. But I was amazed to learn that I think Colin Firth, who is an absolute treasure in the acting space, he has a CBE, I think, but he doesn't have a knighthood. I feel like in that. No,
he paid King George the Fifth as well.
Yes. In the King's Speech.
I'm just saying, I was surprised to learn that he didn't have. I think he would be someone who would be in line, or Gary Oldman, someone like that.
Yeah. Chris?
I think someone like, if you're talking about Beckham, I think someone like Ant and Dec, who do a lot of work, of course, with the old Prince's Trust, now the King's Trust. I think they are already OBEs, but I quite like to see a Sir Ant and a Sir Dec. It kind of ruins the ruins the stage
Sir Ant and
a little bit. Sir Ant and Dec, but that would be a good one for me. Or someone like Davina McCall, who's done a lot of work on charity because she's been affected by cancer in the last year, and someone like her is a big name without a gong.
I'd like to put Arthur's name forward if that's possible.
Hey.
You must have one already.
I've got one already. But listen, I don't know anyone like famous, I think, but I've just been to Normandy, covered a D-Day, and Nicholas Witchell was there. Nicholas Witchell used to read the news for the BBC, and he was a great royal reporter. But he's tirelessly worked to build that place, and he got the money off the LIBOR fund, and I just think I'd like him to get something for that, because if you ever go there, it's incredible what's there. Every sort of name that people had died on those beaches is listed. And
we saw it last year, didn't we, for the 80th?
Oh, you were there, that's right.
The King was there last year.
And Nick's always there. He's just devoted his whole...
You're right to say he's always there. Someone told me recently that they went there and they were just buying a cup of tea in the canteen, and he was in the kitchen serving the tea. So he literally does put his money where his mouth is.
For that, because, he was a good royal reporter. He fell out with the King once, I remember. But they made up in Saudi Arabia. I was there when they made up as well. So,
good.
Yeah. But I'd like Nick Witchell to get something.
That's a great shout.